What is up, everyone? It's been a while since I've done a commentary video, but I figured it's a good format for some of these more complicated advanced quests. This is definitely a stage people have had a lot of problems with, but I think I've got a setup here that will make it significantly simpler. Also, I did not think to record commentary when I originally recorded this video, so I'm having to do it in post. That's going to make this a bit scuffed and video quality and format and such. Now, before we talk about the team and how to set it up, I want to go over the basic gimmicks here to give you some context. The enemies all have a really large damage resist shield, so you won't really do any damage to them off the bat. Anytime you do a damaging NP to them, though, you will lower their resistance. However, it will also make the enemies change what servant they are. This slot will cycle through knight classes. This one will cycle through cavalry classes, but there's also hide in there, so there's a berserker. And this one is extra classes, but when it gets to BB, it will stop cycling. But these two will just rotate between the same 3 or 4 characters. And the other thing of note here is the counter class system is doubled. So a rider will do even more damage to a caster, for example, and take even less. This only applies, though, to proper counter classing. So Berserker and Alter Ego, for example, don't get this bonus against most enemies. However, Berserker will take the double damage from enemy classes. So we're going to take advantage of that with Hide showing up in the middle here. Each enemy will do a gimmick at the end of their turn. Most of it is just buffing their teammates. It does allow them to do really high damage, though, especially if they are counterclassing you. It's very easy to get one shot, so being smart with your survivability and that kind of thing is important. Well, I'll get into the specifics of like which enemies to worry about and whatnot as we go here. All right, let's talk about the team. This is really where you're going to be able to beat this stage. A lot of people really struggle on this stage, but if you bring the right kind of units, this is not going to be very hard. This team actually just breezes through this challenge quest. No big deal. Now, the core of this team is going to be a damage dealer. If you've got a ridiculously strong account and like a really, really hard-hitting AoE servant, it can be an AoE unit. But if you're worried about not having enough damage to one-shot Hide, just make it a single target. Single target is totally fine here. It's also a bit simpler with manipulating the enemy's classes. So I would go with single target if you're worried about this stage. The way my team is specifically, when we kill Hide, which is our first objective, the knight class that's out is going to be a Lancer. So this damage dealer being a Saber would be ideal. But I'm using Ku because he is my favorite. But you can really use any of the knight classes here, and it should work just fine. The main thing to look for with what unit you pick here is you want them to have enough damage to nuke a boss, and then have survivability. And if they don't have any survivability, then your other 2 units are going to have to be stronger to compensate, and it's going to be a lot harder. So you really want to look for a single target damage dealer with survivability. Someone like Yagyu would be really, really good here. Now, these other 2 units, I'm using a VC Braun and Caster Ku. Their main objective is to just NP as many times as possible to get the enemy's shields down at the start and rotate their classes. If you don't have as many K-scopes as I do here, or maybe you don't have these passives, give you that extra starting NP, you can cut St. George from this team without any real problem, and you can just bring a Rosh and move everyone back a square, and then have a Rosh just NP turn 1, and then everyone else comes in, and it's pretty much everything else I'm going to describe will be the same. So that's a way to get an extra NP in there, because again, St. George just is not that important here. Unless you don't have a ruler at all. You have no ruler on your entire account, but I'll get into that in a second. Anyways, 2 units that can AoE, preferably twice back-to-back. And one of them is good if they have survivability. That's why I'm going with Caster Ku. It's not the end of the world if they don't, but it's going to complicate keeping your ruler alive if one of these doesn't have survivability. You don't really need both of them to have survivability, though, because you actually want one of these units to die. All right, so single target damage, 2 AoE, and then pretty much any support. I mean, this could be Waver, this could be Mash. I actually misplay here quite a bit and basically waste Mash completely. I don't really get anything out of her. She just stalls. But that's mainly what this unit is here for, is to not have your ruler show up. But if you've got Waver, you got Caster, Artoria. Also for like a VC Braun here, you could use Assassin Veach. You could use Oberyn Vortigern, you bastard. You could, anything like that, that's like support, help the team, also has an AoE NP, that's totally fine. And then you're going to want any ruler, every single ruler in the game works. I'm going with her because she's a welfare that comes out before this advanced quest, so everyone should have her. You can do this without a ruler. You want this unit, though, to be some kind of really strong nuker, last man standing. You could use Hercules, Ku Alter, even Lancer Scath, Ku, honestly, could be in this slot. It is harder, and this unit here, you may not be able to rotate into a Raj if you do it that way. But any ruler will work here. Just using their normal cards is going to kill BB. They do so much damage. They take so little. There's no way a ruler doesn't work here. It can be any one of them. As for Mystic Code, I really like Atlas. There are some early debuffs that can stop you from NPing that you can clear. And at the end, BB will sometimes turn someone into a pig, which is a stun, and you can clear that. Now, for command codes, you don't really need any, but if you are going to bring some, it's really good on this unit here to have anti-incapacitate, because that will stop the pig from BB. She doesn't always do it, but it doesn't hurt to just have that. BB also will get attack up and defense up, so you could bring command codes to remove that. I like this art one because it removes both at the same time. And for your starting DPS unit, if you're having survivability issues, just bring survivability command codes. Maybe bring NP gain stuff to just get your NP quicker. There is some evade stuff on the enemy team at the beginning, so I got some sure hit here to just counter that, make it a bit easier. But obviously Ku has sure hit, so I don't actually need to bring those. Oh yeah, and I forgot to talk about this final unit. If you're not bringing a Raj, I would just bring really anything with taunt, just to take BB's NP if he happens to live that long. But this unit really doesn't matter that much. All right, let's get into the gameplay. So the plan here is to just NP as often as possible, get Hyde to show up, and then have the NP for our main damage unit to be able to just instantly kill Hyde before he gets to do anything. Now, I make a mistake here. I use the VC Braun's third skill, but I'm rotating out of this rider. It's going to be an assassin. So there is just no way VC Braun is dying this turn. So it was possible that I could have whiffed the duration of his third skill. So I should have cast it on turn 2, because that would have been a lot safer. Just a little wiggle room. But as you can see, you do absolutely no damage here. But you're just wanting to change the enemy classes. Now, these enemies have different effects at the end of their turn. Most of them are pretty irrelevant, especially as you multi-NPing like this. It's just not going to land on characters that are going to be a problem. The ones that are a problem are Jekyll and Faker, which if you double NP on turn 1, those are the two that are going to be out. Jekyll does a stun. It's only a chance to stun. He's not guaranteed to stun. And if you have magic resist, actually the odds aren't even that high. But then Faker has skill seal, and if either of those hit and you're relying on using a skill to get a big battery, you're not going to be able to use it. Now, I mess up here. I hadn't done this stage in a long time, and I was trying to save my debuff clear for the pig effect that BB does later, but it's not really that big of a deal. It's way less of a deal than I thought. She doesn't actually use it that often, and we've got the command codes to block it anyway. So right here, I decide to not use the debuff clear, and I figure not this many people are going to get debuff next time, but there was no reason to take this risk. I should clear the debuff, NP, and cycle these units out, because if I don't cycle them, they can just cast these debuffs again, and I'm just wasting time. It was just a mistake. So if you're in this situation, if both of your AoE units get stunned or skill sealed or whatever, just clear one of them, whichever one you think can NP, if they've got a battery skill, and just cycle these two out immediately. That is the absolute best use of your debuff clear. Because letting them stay alive and just debuff and debuff is definitely a way you could lose this stage. So I would every single time use your debuff clear right there if an AoE person got hit by it. If your AoE people don't get hit by it, no big deal. Now you can see they missed. He got hit by the skill seal, but a VC Braun can do it. So I get to save my debuff clear, but I don't even use it later, so it was completely pointless. Now, the next, after Jekyll, he turns into Hyde, which that's easy to remember. So I'm already going to NP. I've gotten their shields down a good amount. If VC Braun's going to ping their shield off even lower, and I know Ku can just one-shot them. And at this point, you're already in really good shape for winning. You really do want to set it up, though, where you can one-shot Hyde like this, so he never gets a turn. He never gets to smack somebody. Maybe you don't have as good a survivability, like you don't have PFA. So it's really good to just take him out. And then once you take him out, you just need to worry about the Knight class. Now, I suppose you could actually bring an archer here. they're taking enough damage now that an archer could potentially kill this. But it's very easy for my other unit here, my Castraku, to NP again, and that's going to change this into a Lancer. And it's good to do that because you need to cycle the enemy ruler and you need to eventually get to BB. So I don't really suggest Archer here because Archer would have to wait the longest time to go around the wheel again. So I think Saber is the best because this enemy turns into a Lancer here. So if you've got a Saber that just killed Hyde instead of Ku, you're ready to go. Now, because I'm using Ku, I'm going to have to use my next NP to rotate this Lancer into an Archer. And that's pretty bad, honestly. That hurts my team pretty dramatically. Now, thankfully, Ku is at level 120 is just so strong that even though I just got one shot by that Antonio, I still got plenty of survivability with my Mystic Code and whatnot. That I'll be fine. But yeah, if you're cutting it closer than this, you maybe don't have a Ku grailed. A Saber really is the way to go here. It's just a lot more... The timing works out a lot smoother. Now, I'm using Atlas to use my skills here again. If I maybe had a unit with less survivability, I would just use the invulnerability on the Mystic Code on your DPS unit, because you only need your DPS unit here to live until either one of these two units dies. Especially with a VC Brawn, because a VC Brawn then gives us more survivability. Alright, so he finally dies. Now we have loads of survivability. VC Brawn really is an excellent unit for this stage. He's probably more important than Castraku. Castraku can be replaced by a lot of stuff. Now, I make a pretty big mistake here. The enemies can obviously do really, really big damage every turn, but I have invulnerability and PFA behind it here. There's just maybe do this one defense buff on MASH like I'm doing here, but then I decide to NP as well, and that's just pointless. Like, I'm not going to take any damage, and MASH doesn't need that much survivability. Now, how you should play this unit, though, is going to depend on the status of your team. You really do not want MASH to die yet, because you don't want your ruler to show up when the enemy still has an Avenger out. Now, if I was a Saber, this unit would be dead right now. But because I'm using a Lancer, I'm basically just having to rotate it. Now, I figure because Ku's NP gain is not the best, that I'm just going to kill him with normal cards. Because now their shields are so weak, and my Ku is so strong, I'm not even going to try to get NP gain on him. I do want NP gain on Castraku, so I can NP and turn the Avenger into BB. I kind of didn't really think about that this turn, though. I didn't use his art card, but it's not that big of a deal. Buster Chain's fine. I do loads of damage to Robin. Castraku does have his battery skill, and I think his third skill is about to come up. You can't see, though, with all those buffs on MASH, she's not taking much damage now. When those are gone, she's definitely going to be one-shottable. Castraku, also still a great unit. All the survivability. This time a VC Brawn gives you, you're definitely getting PFA back, and survivability skills like that just buy time for each other, and they become more than the sum of their parts. It's really good. But yeah, all we're doing here, as much damage to Robin as possible with normal cards, or you can get NP gain on your AoE unit. But we've pretty much got no way to lose at this point. We're kind of just waiting to kill Robin, and then it's just our ruler is going to clean up BB. You do need to be careful with Antonio, though. He does hit ridiculously hard, depending on how much survivability your team has. If you don't have a lot, you need to get rid of him sooner. Now, if I NP with Castraku here, Robin is going to turn into a Saber, which I obviously don't want, so I'm just going to hold it. This is another reason why Ku being a Saber would have been a lot better, because I'd already be done with this part. So I could just freely use my Castraku NP to switch him to BB whenever I want. The only difficulty this team really does have is the fact that I'm using a Lancer. Ku is amazing for this stage. He's perfect for it. But his class is kind of out of sync with the enemy rotation. Okay, so again, any ruler in the entire game will work here. You could certainly use like Hercules and some other strong berserkers and stuff like that as well. But now that she's here, because someone died, I need to get rid of Antonio immediately. So now thankfully though, I finally got rid of Robin, so I can NP freely. It's not a big deal. Honestly, at this point, if I couldn't have killed Robin, I still would have swapped it. It's that important, and Robin would obviously be really low. He got evade. It doesn't matter though, as long as you hit them with an NP. We'll switch. Now, she does a buff removal. She removes one of your buffs when she attacks, the latest applied buff. But it just doesn't matter because... Also, I think it's random. I don't think... Yeah, she doesn't do it all the time. But it just doesn't matter. Your other units don't matter anymore. They can all die in one hit. It wouldn't matter. She will do basically no damage to your ruler because of the double defense thing you get. If you do happen to save your Atlas, like maybe you didn't get debuffed earlier, don't clear it on a turn like this. Let's say your ruler got stunned here. She's only got the 1 art card, right? Who cares? Save the debuff clear for a turn that really matters. Again, if you've got the anti-petrify or anti-stun command code, use those because she doesn't pick it all the time. And then if sometimes you have that, you're going to be totally safe. Okay, look how little her damage is there. It's just absolutely nothing. All right, well, at this point, the gameplay is just a formality. We obviously win. You basically just you click your ruler cards when they show up. Boss is going to die. I plan on making more videos like this as advanced quests come out on NA. Now, the first chunk of advanced quests are really easy for a while. You guys got a good bit before the hard ones start coming out. But when they do make tricky ones, I plan on making some videos for them. If you guys don't like the commentary, I can just do the normal kind of video and put the explanation in like a pinned comment. I will normally do the commentary though live. I think it's a lot easier to explain what you're doing and why you're doing it as you go. But yeah, if you want more content like this, I'll certainly make it. If you don't, I won't. And yeah, you can see here, George is nice just to maybe eat the extra attack from the when they get their MP bar filled. That probably won't one-shot your ruler, and I've got a Guts Craft Essence just to be safe. But I'm not using the taunt now because if I taunted, she would attack him and potentially remove the taunt with the buff removal, so then I wouldn't have it for the NP turn. So if you are maybe struggling or you're using a Berserker you need to protect, do keep that in mind. But yeah, your ruler's gameplay doesn't really matter. They can be Joan of Arc with no damage NP, and you can still just kill the boss the old-fashioned way. If you happen to have Ruler Martha, that's probably going to be one of the easiest ways to do this because she has a battery and a hard-hitting NP. All right, if I hadn't done all that damage last turn, I can debuff clear here now, get the taunt. But it doesn't matter. We win this turn. All right, boys. Thank you for watching. And I'll be making more videos soon, hopefully. Not that the Japanese server has any content to make any content on, but one of these days.